in the state. Right now, polls show Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker leading, but very few show much wiggle room here. In fact, when you consider that up or down 4 or 5 points, something like that, the race is essentially even. A guy who says that this governor has to go is Jim Palmer. He's with the Wisconsin Professional Police Association, the executive director. You might hear protesters in the background, but since Jim is with the police association, he's just going to beat them up if it comes to that. Very good to have you.
Thank you for having me on, Neil.
You argue this governor's got to go. Why?
Well, you know, we're the state's largest law enforcement group, and we're also a labor organization. And we think Scott Walker has fallen woefully short on both counts. Not only was he not straightforward with people, with voters in 2010 as it relates to his plans to reform collective bargaining in the state, actually eviscerate collective bargaining, but
what did he do that he said he wouldn't do?
Well, it's what he didn't say, really. I think the silence was deafening. And in fact, there was a report in the state's largest newspaper last Friday and Saturday that there were constituents that had written his campaign, asked public employee constituents, potential constituents, who asked his campaign whether or not were some of these collective bargaining changes going to apply to them, and they were told blankly that they were not. And as we now know, almost immediately after taking office, Scott Walker sought to eviscerate collective bargaining. I don't think.
Well, then what are we left with, Jim? That if voters in the state seem to give him a high approval rating, and they seem to think that the economy is picking up, unemployment rate is down, that whatever he did, as controversial as it was at the time, last winter when this was thousands of people protesting, things have gone his way and not your way.
Well, I don't think most people in this state would view the economy as really turning around.
Why does he have the approval rating he does?
Well, a 51% approval rating by a poll, I don't know that that's overwhelming, and that certainly isn't a mandate. And I think given all the turmoil, the fact of the matter is over almost a million people signed a petition to recall this governor. So I think there's a lot of discontent out there, not only with what he did, but the manner by which he did it.
Do you think that this is unions' sort of Waterloo, that they either make it here or they're finished?
I think this is definitely a big fight for the unions. But
so
I think
if they lose, if you lose tomorrow.
If the unions lose, I think that it'll be a setback. That goes without saying. I think that it really is, this issue, this election is broader than just the labor unions. It's about how we govern and whether we're straightforward with people, and I don't think this governor has done that.
You argue that people in this state are not as safe now as a result of these cuts and the police cuts. They've done studies of the numbers involved, I think 1.7%. Serious, but not, as I think one editorial put it, not draconian as you presented it. What do you say?
Well, we think that this year there is a $73 million cut to the local funding that is used to pay for public safety services. That cut is implemented this year. So I think that, in this economic environment, we know that officers over the last 5 years in this state, just in Wisconsin, have seen a more than 200% increase in the number of assaults on them in the line of duty. Now is not the time to make the single largest cut in the last decade to the funding that's used for public safety. So, is Wisconsin less safe today? We think it certainly will be down the road.
If he survives this, are you worried? In general, just in general.
Absolutely. I'm worried about a number of things. I'm worried about the message that from a societal perspective. We believe that Scott Walker should go for a number of reasons. But it's clear he has maintained just an overwhelming funding advantage.
Well, it wasn't as if you guys are poor, right? I mean, there was a lot of outside union money coming in as well. I mean, both sides had a lot of money, right?
Well, I think the last report I saw, Governor Walker is outspending Tom Baird by 8 to 1. Now, I believe the get out the vote effort that you're seeing for those supporting Tom Baird is historic and it's massive, and I think that'll make up the difference, but time will tell.
Okay. Well, you have a strong voice, so we appreciate that.
Good.
Very good seeing you.
Thank you.
We'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Or you might have heard, one or two people shouting in the background. But we got Ron Johnson, the Republican senator from this fine state, also weighing in on this mess as it gets closer and apparently louder and crazier.
American Idol.
Welcome back to Madison, Wisconsin, everyone. Neil Cavuto here. Some of the protesters assembling here, mostly peaceful, some of them pretty loud. I liken it to like a Cavuto family reunion. You'll have some boisterous types, but by and large, pretty low-key, soft-spoken protesters on both sides. Pretty much. Okay, as this debate goes on as to whether the third governor in U.S. history will be toast, recall by